Finally, the day we've all been waiting for, a brand new Nintendo Direct. I've been waiting so long for this and I just can't wait to see my favorite franchises. I hope we get a new F-Zero, Billy Hatcher, and just legendary Starfy game to make me so happy. There's always next Direct. Everyone has a favorite video game franchise. It can range from an iconic series that is wildly popular across the world, to the less popular but still memorable experiences, and to even just why? Every gaming franchise, no matter how big or small, has fans that are just clamoring for a new release every year. Sometimes you get a new installment every year, but it can be a bit rushed, while other times it may take multiple years, but the end product is phenomenal. But sometimes that wait for a new game just keeps going on and on and on with no end in sight. It really creeps up on you too. Here's how the series of events plays out. A new game is released and you play it, you hope and get excited for the next one, a year or two passes with no new information, then a new console is released and you just think to yourself, oh, they were just waiting for a new console to release a new game. Then that console ends with an even worse console succeeding it. You start to get depressed from no new game, one thing leads to another, and now it's been nearly 20 years since the last F-Zero game. This is what we like to refer to as a dead franchise, a series that at one point had a few or even a lot of games released, and now isn't getting any love and all but guaranteed isn't going to be getting a new title in the near future. Sometimes it's not a big deal because the series wasn't popular in the first place, while other times it's because they were bought by a different company and then their next game made babies cry. Every franchise will go through this eventually, yes, even Mario someday. It may not be for 500 years when we're all dead of climate change, but it will still happen. So many franchises are sitting in this dead, dormant state, but which series are the most dead? With all the dying and dead franchises out there, why don't we take a look at them and see how they got to that point and if they have any chance of coming back? Based on what I said about a minute ago, you can probably guess that I have very strong feelings about the F-Zero franchise. And that is because Captain Falcon deserves better. There are kids these days that probably don't even know he has his own games and just know him as the Falcon Punch guy from Smash Bros. That just makes me feel old and depressed on the inside. F-Zero never was the most popular franchise from the beginning on the Super Nintendo, but it felt like a staple after the original Smash Bros was released. That classic roster was full of iconic Nintendo characters. And then Captain Falcon and Ness for some fucking reason. We'll get back to Ness in a little bit, but Captain Falcon wasn't even remotely similar to his own games in Smash, which is why people completely love him. Falcon Punch wouldn't even be a thing without Smash Bros, but the Captain needs to be more appreciated for his own merits. The last F-Zero game came out for the GameCube in 2003, which might be longer ago than when some people watching this video were born. Now I'm not the only one feeling old and depressed. F-Zero GX was the best in the series in my opinion, but of all racing games Nintendo has made, these have always been incredible. They require much more skill and precision than Mario Kart, but that could be what led to its death. Nintendo has always been more family and party game oriented with controls anyone can learn and master, but F-Zero was definitely a notch up in difficulty without the luck aspects. Plus, Mario was just a more recognizable character. Everyone has played a Mario game at some point, even adults. But those same adults probably wouldn't want to see their kids playing a game whose main character is a buff man in tight spandex and visible nipples. Falcon Punch! Rated E for everyone. As much as I love F-Zero, I doubt we will be getting a new game anytime soon. I'm not gonna say there's a 0% chance, but after nearly 20 years of no new game and no sign of a new game, there is very little hope to cling on to. All we can do now is hope Captain Falcon is never removed from Smash to keep his memory alive. Well, to keep his memory alive and
show me your moves.
Now let's quickly transition back to the other character that was randomly added to the original Smash Bros, Ness. The Mother series is one of the cultiest of cult classic games ever, with people still aggressively campaigning for either an Earthbound remake or Mother 3 to finally get localized. Just take a look under any Nintendo Direct tweet and you will likely see something along the lines of Mother 3 localization confirmed ? This has been one of the biggest burning questions ever since Lucas was added to Brawl, but his game has never been released outside of Japan. Even former president of Nintendo of America and America in general, Reggie, said that the weight of the questions being asked about Mother 3 literally shrunk him. Obviously he was joking, but there's always some truth behind every joke. At this point, I highly doubt Mother 3 will ever be localized in its current form. The game was released 14 years ago for the Game Boy Advance, so do you really think they're gonna sell Mother 3 English Game Boy Advance cartridges? I mean, I would love it, but it's completely impractical. There are really only two possibilities for Mother 3 to ever get localized. One, they just go ahead and localize it and re-release it digitally on the Switch, but I still highly doubt that would happen. Or two, they remake all three games and bundle them together in a trilogy, which is probably even more unlikely. I think we all need to chill out on requesting its localization because it's just never gonna happen. All we can do is pray and hope the series is continued with Mother 4, although that's probably less likely than the other two ideas I said previously. This franchise is fucked. The next series I don't think is really gonna die anytime soon, but its future doesn't look particularly bright, and that would be Pikmin. I have one question and one question only. Where the hell is Pikmin 4? I cannot believe it has been 7 years since the last Pikmin game. We don't count that one. We have heard as recently as October of last year that Pikmin 4 is still in development, but we've been told that every year since Pikmin 3 came out. Pikmin has never been one of Nintendo's most important IPs, but it still has a substantial fan base, and Pikmin 3 was probably the best in the series to date. Why stop after such a great game? Because it didn't sell well? It was on the Wii U. It was doomed from the start. These games are some of the calmest and most soothing games with their music, but also a damn horror movie when getting chased by a giant enemy. I have 100% confidence that Pikmin 4 will eventually come out, but I am not too certain on when or how the series will pivot after that. Ever since its introduction on the GameCube, it has had representation on every console, so it just feels right for Pikmin 4 to be released on the Switch. Will it happen this year? Probably not. Will it happen next year? God, I hope so. But once Pikmin 4 is released, I would not be surprised if this is the end of the series. Not enough focus is put on the franchise, and unless Pikmin 4 sells insanely well, there's not much reason to continue it. I hope I'm wrong, but it does not look promising. I mean, it could pull a Metroid Prime and just go on hiatus for 15 years then come back when nobody was expecting it, but that is an extreme outlier. Plus, Metroid Prime 4 was announced 3 years ago, and we still have no new information other than it being delayed, so that game's just a whole nother can of worms. A super underappreciated franchise from Nintendo that sadly hasn't gotten any love since its last installment is Golden Sun. I will not budge on this topic. Golden Sun is a top 3 game for the Game Boy Advance. Don't even try to argue. You will lose this argument. This game has a fantastic story accompanied by great characters, world design, and music, especially for a handheld console. So why did the series start to die? Because nobody likes to expand their horizons and only play the same games over and over. The first Golden Sun was the only game in the series to surpass 1 million sales in the US and Japan, which might sound impressive, but for reference, a series you probably all know much more about, Pokemon Ruby and Sapphire sold over 16 million copies worldwide for the Game Boy Advance. 1 million is a good number for Golden Sun to hit, but in the grand scheme of things, it's not even a dent in the big hitters. The only representation the franchise even gets anymore is Isaac being an assist trophy in Smash, but I guarantee you most people couldn't tell you what game he's from. He's just the Midas touch in video game form. I feel like I keep saying this, but I don't think Golden Sun is 100% dead, but it's definitely on life support. I always personally thought Isaac would need to become an actual fighter in Smash for Nintendo or anyone to really take him seriously, and it just seems like he's destined to be an assist trophy forever. Doesn't mean we won't get a new Golden Sun, but Chibi Robo seems more likely to get a new game, and that's after the trash bag that was Ziplash. Not a good look for Golden Sun. And now the final series that I was 100% confident was dead before last year's E3, but now I am so excited that there might be a game coming back, and that would be Banjo-Kazooie. I have made a video on all 3 of the major games in this series, and everyone knows how much I adore them, and the nuts and bolts is also there. I would do anything to revive this franchise. Trust me, I've been trying. Ever since Rare was bought by Microsoft, all of their games have gone to shit, and that's putting it nicely. Banjo-Kazooie was thriving after the Nintendo 64 with 2 fantastic games, and I think everyone was waiting for a third on the GameCube. But that third game never came to a Nintendo console, and now nuts and bolts exists on the Xbox. If you told that to someone in 2000, you would have been laughed at, yet here we are. I think everyone can agree that Banjo-Kazooie was all but dead after that game, but there still was always a sliver of hope. A dream that Banjo could come home to Nintendo in some way, and when he finally got announced for Smash Ultimate, I have never seen the internet so collectively happy, until 2 minutes later when Breath of the Wild sequel was announced. I personally believe after seeing how excited the fans were with their inclusion and Microsoft's willingness to work with Nintendo, there was a strong possibility for a new entry in the style of the first 2 games. It's not a guarantee or anything, but nobody can say they would be shocked anymore, although we have no idea if it would be released on the Xbox or the Switch. Ideally, it would be released on both. Let's just hope Microsoft doesn't get greedy and keep them all to themselves, although that would be a good strategy to get more people to buy the new system. Microsoft, if you're listening to this, forget what I just said. The life cycle for a gaming franchise is something that we should never take for granted. Every series has its time to end, so we should just make sure to appreciate all those times when they are still around, with a few exceptions. Every aspect of gaming has come to an end at some point. From development teams, to consoles, and yes, the games themselves, it will all die. It's always the saddest thing to see. So let's quickly add to the sadness and look at a few games I guarantee will die, or at least should die. Legendary Starfy, dead, never coming back. Wave Race, N64 game was a big part of my childhood, but still gone. Pilot Wings flew into the side of a mountain, dead. Drawn to Life, 80% of you have never heard of it and never will again, dead. Sonic should end because all the games are the goddamn same and there hasn't been a good, unique adventure in years, but it won't because it's Sega's only way to survive. And not all of Mario, but New Super Mario Bros. God, I hope that fucking dies. We all have a franchise that we would love to see come back, so please leave a comment down below because I would love to see what everyone likes. Personally, there are so many that I couldn't just possibly pick one. I think the only way I can make this decision is in the heat of the moment under pressure, kinda just like how I vote. Quick, you only have 5 seconds to answer. What gaming franchise would bring back from the dead? 1 second! Pepsi Man, damn it!